Welcome back to the Bachi Boys, everybody. We have a great show for you today. It's a tough day in Philadelphia. The retirement of Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox is behind him. It's a tough day, and we're going to get into that and much, much more. It's going to be a tough start to the episode, but stay tuned. We got a lot for you.
Summer, all I did was rest. New Year's, all I did was stretch. Valentine's Day, I had sex. We'll see what's about to happen next. This ain't no regular shit. We never begging for shit. Niggas is ready to quit. Shit that they hate to admit. In Texas, I keep a rifle inside of the whip, call it driving a stick. In Vegas, I get $2 million a night from the wind just to run through the hits. All that on top of the chips.
Davis, welcome back to the podcast.
Ethan, welcome.
Jumping right into this. I just want to get this out of the way, Davis. Tough day in Philadelphia. The 7-time All-Pro center for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jason Kelce, has retired after 13 seasons in the NFL. If you're on the YouTube, I picked this photo symbolically just because, Davis, it feels like the end of an era. I know BG might stick around. I think Lane's got a little bit more in the tank, but it seems like Fletch and Jason Kelce have played their last games in Eagles uniforms. And, it's not a rebuild, but it's the start of something new. And today, that press conference was a tough watch, man. It took more than a couple minutes for Jason to even start talking, let alone get through it. Just talk to me about how you're feeling about the Eagles right now and Kelce.
Yeah, I think I'm happy for him. In all honesty, that's my first thought. It's not selfishly, hey, I want him to play. He's an All-Pro. Why is he retiring at part of his peak? No, there's much more to life than football. Not to get sentimental about it, but we've seen it. We've seen him do so many things, great things off the field, as well as on the field, of course. But I'm happy for the guy. Of course, he had a tremendous career, and I think he summed it up very well in his press conference. Even if you're not an Eagles fan, I recommend you watching it because he really touches on, all the people who brought him to the place where he's at now on and off the field. He definitely touched on his high school and college career for a long time, which was really cool to hear. But then the way he talked about Philadelphia and the fans and trust me, Ethan, it bothers me more than most Philly fans how often we boo and, how unintelligent some of our boos seem. I'm all about the intelligent boos. I like it. I like it when we're booing, a guy swinging at a 3-0 pitch outside of the zone. I like it when we're booing a holding call on the wrong side of the offense.
Things that should be booed, yes.
Correct. Things that should be booed. But the way that Kelce summed it up was just fantastic. Being a Philly fan, you're talking about sports. You're talking about the city of Philadelphia 24/7. It's a job. It is a job to be a Philadelphia fan. And he summed it up very well. And I think that he embodies exactly who a Philadelphia Eagle and a Philadelphia athlete should be.
Yeah, that last part you just said says it perfectly. I know he was a center and he played probably the most unglamorous sport or unglamorous position in sports. Center of a football team is, it's hard to get attention, much less become a celebrity like Jason has. And you can attribute that to maybe the fans, maybe to Taylor Swift, maybe to his brother, whatever you want to say. But the man is a legend. The man deserves everything that's coming to him. He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer in the National Football League Hall of Fame and the Eagles Hall of Fame. They should get him in there right away. His jersey should be retired. Nobody should ever wear 62 again. It sucks. It sucks. This is a guy that I didn't grow up in my childhood watching, but he's become popular ever since we were in high school, ever since, that Super Bowl run. And he's ever since the Super Bowl, even before the Super Bowl, he's become a legend. And now he should have a statue. I love Doug and I love Nick, but Jason Kelce deserves the statue more than almost anybody I would have seen.
Yeah, not to dwell on it a little bit more, but two quick things. One, he had a great quote that he talks about all the time. And again, it really sums up that entire Super Bowl year. He said it again today in his press conference that hungry dogs run faster. And I think that's just there's something about the way he says that and the way that 2017 season went for the Philadelphia Eagles where we were underdogs and we won the Super Bowl. we won the Super Bowl being underdogs the entire playoff run. I mean, people didn't think we were going to get past Matt Ryan. Like, then we ended up beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl and putting up 41 points. Scoregami, by the way, 41-33. That was pretty cool. But no, my dad also sent me a text during that press conference saying that we might need to take a trip to Canton in 2029 because that's,
he's a guy you make that trek for. Yeah.
He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see how the Eagles proceed on their offensive front. We've been so deadly on the offensive and defensive lines. That's truly what I believe wins Super Bowls is that front 9, that front 10.
100%.
And that's how we won a Super Bowl in 2017. That's the skeleton, I think, of a tremendous football team.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like Cam Jurgens is probably going to take the place of Jason Kelce on the center position, but no one can take the place of this man on the team. This is the kind of guy that you lose, and it will really set your team back maybe a couple weeks, couple months, couple years. Like, he embodied the culture, and somebody's going to have to step up in that locker room because a lot of voices are being replaced, whatever you want to call it.
Correct. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I am too. Hopefully Jalen Hurts can step up, AJ Brown, everybody that we're paying all this money to. But, sad day, bad day. Sad day, bad day for sure. All right, Davis, let's move on to a little bit happier stuff. It's March 4th. The last time we recorded a podcast, I know it came out on the 1st of March, but it was the 29th of February, Leap Day. We are finally in March. We have digested a little bit more college basketball. So let's get to the bubble again. By the way, I had a couple comments last time. I'm talking about the college basketball tournament bubble, not the NBA bubble. So, Will Mackley, shout out to you. So let's talk about the NCAA.
That was. Can we just touch on that for a second? This is the first time I'm hearing about this quote. That NBA bubble was ridiculous.
It ruined the word bubble because now people don't.
You remember who was? I know we're still going to be talking about this in like 15 years. Remember how TJ Warren just turned into like God?
Oh yeah,
for like 4
Bubble
weeks.
Jordan. Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah,
he was averaging like 40.
Dude, the bubble was a different time. The Suns didn't lose a game in the bubble and still didn't make it to the playoffs that year. I don't even know who won the championship that year because it didn't even count. But
yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Lil Mickey. All right, let's get Mickey. All right, let's get to the bubble. I want to get to one team right away. Villanova, Davis. Just tell me I'm not an idiot. Nova can make the tournament, right?
Nova definitely can make the tournament. I truly do think so, and I'd love to clip it and go back for a few weeks ago. We've been staying a little consistent throughout this posting, so we're gonna definitely keep it up. But a few weeks ago, may have mentioned to you that Villanova is a surprise team of mine that
you did
could win a game in the first round.
You did.
I'm still on board with that. They're a team that, even they have the highest free throw percentage in college basketball right now at about 82%. That is a fantastic spot for a team that gets to the line. And they do get to the line. So I think that, Villanova is going to be a scary team, especially down the stretch of games. The way that they can play defense. I think it's going to be a struggle for them, but they need to make their shots. They need to hit their free throws. And I think they're going to be a team that can match up pretty well, with a 6 seed, with a 5 seed, whatever. I've never been a huge fan of the first 4 games. I don't know why. Yeah, I actually prefer to watch the 16 seeds. I remember watching last year, Corpus Christi playing against Texas Southern. I think 2 years ago, Texas Southern won. And like, those games are great because it's like, this is these guys' only chance to like.
It's sad though because it's on Wednesday night and it's like,
but it's great. You know what I mean? It's great. And then the other games, you're like Pitt and Michigan State. Why do I want to watch this? Like, I'm flipping over to Fubo or True TV to turn on my Corpus Christi game. So, I hope Villanova gets in outright instead of that first 4. But watch out. I really do think they're going to make the tournament, and I still believe that they are going to be a contender to make it through the weekend.
I would really hope so. They finished their season tough to say the least. They play actually the Seton Hall Pirates. Is that what their name is? The Pirates. Correct. Yes, the Pirates. They play the Pirates on Wednesday night in a massive game for Villanova and Seton Hall because Seton Hall is on this last foray, and if you will see. And then they finish the season against Creighton, who just beat Marquette again. Creighton looks scary, but Seton Hall, another Big East team right on the cusp. Providence, another Big East team right on the cusp. What is it about the Big East that's like, you have these teams at the top, and then there's the teams on the last four in, but there's no one in the middle? Why won't one of these teams get mediocre?
It's the teams beating up on each other. It's exactly what the Big Ten does every single year. You're going to see these middle teams like Providence and Seton Hall and Villanova. Look, it's fantastic that UConn and Marquette are great. And I really do think both of them are going to be tremendous contenders going into the tournament. But that's where we're not. I don't think we're really going to see the true test of the middle of the Big East and the middle of the Big Ten until the tournament comes around and we see how many wins they go about. You know what I mean? Like that is the true testament to how good a conference is. It might be the top two teams you might think. I really think it's going to be those middle five teams for literally every single conference. It's going to be, if Iowa gets in, it's going to be the scrappy Wisconsin team that's lost 7 out of their last 9. Like it's going to be teams like that where I'm like, okay, the Big East might be legit or the Big Ten might be legit. So again, we might not know until the weekend, that first weekend comes around, the round of 32, see who makes it through to the Sweet 16, because the Sweet 16 where it becomes extremely real for all these teams and looking at a broader perspective of the whole conference.
For sure. I mean, I would love to see Big East representation for in the tournament. I would like to be my Wildcats, but Big East representation all the way. Just looking at the rest of this bubble picture, though, Davis, I see Florida Atlantic, a team that went very deep in last year's tournament on the last 4 buys. Wake Forest is also there, a team that beat Duke a couple weeks ago in a very, very notorious court storming. But what is it about these teams that like are right on the edge that I think I know can get it done in the tournament, but it seems like they're hesitant to put them in there?
There are some interesting teams like that, like a Florida Atlantic. Well, you can look at last year and say, or look at the beginning of this year and say, who's going to be the next Florida Atlantic? Who's going to be that shocker? Who's going to make the Final Four? I mean, obviously there are going to be a few teams like that. Mind you, if you're not extremely into college basketball, there's the regular season, which is ending for all these Power 5 conferences this coming weekend. If you win your conference tournament, you automatically get in. So that's why we see some of these teams, 15, 16 seeds we've never heard of. It's because they won their conference tournament. Every single conference tournament winner gets into March Madness. So you see Gonzaga in the first 4 in at the moment. That's if they don't win their conference. Obviously, they're getting in if they win the conference. If they end up beating St. Mary's in the championship, which I really hope doesn't happen. They just beat St. Mary's the other night, but that's as if Gonzaga does not get the auto bid into March Madness. So, I mean, there are a few teams on this list. So Florida Atlantic is going to be the favorite to win their conference in the conference tournament. But then you look at a team like Seton Hall, they're probably, I would assume, they're going to be around 8, 10, 12 to 1 because of the fact that, UConn and Marquette are up there. So it's all about perspective. Florida Atlantic, they're basically saying they probably have to win their conference to be able to get into that top 64 without playing, the playing games. Yeah. So, it's very interesting. And that's why you see some smaller conference names on this list like Gonzaga and Florida Atlantic and New Mexico.
Yeah. My last question was going to be about Gonzaga, but I mean, you kind of covered it there. They had a huge win over St. Mary's the other night. And do you believe in either one of those teams? Or do you care? Like, do you think they're good enough to get further, whoever wins that conference?
Yeah, I really do believe. I think both those teams can make some noise. Gonzaga top 10 on offensive efficiency in the country this year. That is, I mean, just saying top 10 in the country when you're looking at a team that isn't in a Power 5 conference, in a pretty weak conference when the West Coast comes, it's really just Gonzaga and St. Mary's. San Francisco can be sprinkled in there a little bit. Did not hit my +4 bet the last podcast. I went to sleep. Gonzaga was up by 1 at halftime. I was like, all right, looking pretty decent. Woke up, they lost by 25. I think San Francisco lost by 25. So, not great, but you see Gonzaga sitting right at the number 10 spot offensive efficiency wise, and then St. Mary's always been known for their defense sitting at 15th. So if the shots go down, either of these teams can make a run to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right, so if you're looking on the YouTube, we got a little DraftKings list right here. Colorado, Pittsburgh, Providence, Wake Forest, Villanova, New Mexico, Utah, Iowa, and Virginia all to make the tournament. Who of these teams do you like the most to make the tournament, Davis?
Great question. I think right off the bat, I mean, you could get really chalky about it, which again, if you don't know, I'll start explaining some of these terms to some people. That's like betting the favorite. You know, you just think the favorite's going to win, or your favorite's going to. I mean, Villanova sitting here at minus 280 seems like a good bet to me. I've been on the bandwagon. I think that they've played a tough schedule. They sit right probably around the top 30 of the KenPom list. They actually now sit 24th. So I think this is, I think that's going to be a good bet. And I would put New Mexico up there also. I apologize.
Why New Mexico?
Because they've been playing because I'm blanking on the name of the conference. The Mountain West has been fantastic this year. We're going to get a few different teams in there. Usually these kind of mid-majorist conferences might get two teams, maybe an auto bid from the conference tournament and the top team. But this Mountain West team, the conference, they're going to get probably four. They've been fantastic this year. Utah State, Boise State, they've been fantastic.
That's huge for a non-major conference.
Correct. San Diego State and now New Mexico, who's on the bubble. I think that's great. But if you were telling me to go with a less chalky pick, more of a underdog pick, I don't hate Utah, man. I think Utah can possibly make some noise. I think the Pac-12 is just weak. Yeah, I think Arizona can be vulnerable. We've seen Colorado vulnerable. I just don't want to bet the minus 200 in a major conference like that for a team that's on the bubble. You know what I mean? Like, they might be a first day exit in the Pac-12 tournament. And then who knows? But I think going with these plus side numbers is much more important. So I'm not putting Villanova or New Mexico on my card, but I might throw Utah in there, in case they make it to the second, third round, win a few games in the Pac-12 tournament. I'll be able to get a better number on that the other way around. For sure.
No, I love that, Davis. I love that. There's a lot of these teams that I think are, like you said, chalky, but I mean, there's a couple plus signs on there they're going to be tempted to take, but do not take Iowa. Don't take Iowa. Please don't.
I would say no. I cannot get behind it.
Yeah, stay away from Iowa, please. Big Ten teams at this point in the year that are not named Purdue stay away. Very much. And even then, stay away from Purdue. All right, Davis. Let's transition. We talked about college basketball a lot. You have a prop bet of the week for us, I heard. Is that correct?
I very might. And there it is on the screen right now. I recommend checking into your YouTube and skip over to 18 minutes and 24 seconds if you're listening to this on Spotify. Wink, wink, probably Steve Olrath. I have an NBA schedule up right here for a team.
Yep.
Okay. It's very interesting. Give you a few facts. This team now is tied for the least amount of wins in the entire NBA. This team is now on a 14-game losing streak. This team is possibly going to break the all-time losing streak that was just broken this year by the Detroit Pistons. We're looking at the Washington Wizards upcoming schedule for the rest of the year. Now you're going to see some games on here. They've been atrocious, by the way. The fact that they're paying Jordan Poole, the fact that Jordan Poole makes more money than me and you, we are better contributors at the company that we work for than Jordan Poole is for the Washington Wizards.
I think I could go out there and average 15 and 8 for the Washington Wizards, though. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but at least you're doing it on 39% field goal percentage.
I'm also not getting paid a max contract.
So here's the Washington Wizards schedule, and I'm going to pull up a really great prop bet section that just came up on DraftKings this week. When will the Wizards win their next game? Okay, so let's dive into this. All right.
Yeah, I love it.
We're seeing the Jazz, the Hornets, the Magic up here all around the plus 170 to plus 300 sides of things. Ethan, if you want to talk a little value with me, I know. So these numbers are going to get bigger and bigger the more time goes on because the better odds that Washington will actually win a game. It's going to be very unlikely and improbable that they lose out for the rest of March. But I have a game circled on here, Ethan. I have a game circled on here And who was it against? Who was I just talking about? Who had the losing streak that they just broke this year? The Detroit
the
Pistons.
29th?
The Detroit Pistons on March 29th. I might be making the trip down to Washington to watch this game because I truly believe at 110-1 this is possible.
Well, how confident are you? Are you willing to put your money where your mouth is, Davis?
I'm confident enough to put $5 on it, something that's 110-1.
I like it. That means you're confident.
I don't know. I think that this is actually something that, as we'll do more podcasts and time goes on, look, if the Wizards are still losing, this number is only going to get better and better. And that's where, again, I think that there's a little bit of value, and you just got to get through this gauntlet of Utah, Charlotte, and Orlando the next 3 games.
It would be really unfortunate if they win tonight.
It would. This whole segment we're going to waste. We're still going to post this tomorrow morning. I don't care what happens, but feel free to clip this and laugh at us. I'm circling March 29th. Be there. I don't know what the Washington Wizards Stadium's called, but be there. I will be there.
Verizon Center?
It's a good guess. I mean, a cell phone provider, usually.
Hell yeah, look at me.
You would.
I'm good at this. Oh, it's Capital One. Sorry.
Capital One. Come on. It's either a cell phone provider or a bank. It's one or the other.
Whatever. Capital One. What's in your wallet? No free ads. All right. Davis, I actually really like that prop bet. I hate the Wizards too, just because they're just a terrible, most mid team of all mid teams. So I love it. Also, if you're feeling frisky, maybe then it might not win until April. If you like them to beat the Celtics on the 14th for some reason, you can get very rich off that. So I don't know. And then they also might not win another game in the whole season, which is which is 200-1 as we see. It's more likely they don't win a game the rest of the year than they beat the Celtics on the 14th of April. So
is there a game you might have circled on here just out of pure, lunch bet? Who is going to beat the Washington Wizards?
I mean, everybody's going to beat the Washington Wizards. But who's the Washington Wizards going to beat? Probably not anybody. Might be the Warriors after they lost by 50 to the Celtics this weekend.
True.
But in all reality, I do think that Raptors game, the 23rd of March, is probably the most likely option. Because the Wizards are just they're just so bad. And the Hornets maybe, the Grizzlies maybe, the Rockets maybe, but the Wizards are a team that will probably lose every game that they should win and then win the game that they should lose, something like that. So I'm going to go with the Raptors game just because it feels weird.
All right. Let's bookmark it. Bookmarked.
Yeah. Love it. All right, Davis. Let's move on to something a little bit different. Baseball. We've been covering trying to cover a different division every episode. And now we're going to go with the AL West. And I will let you take the wheel on this one.
Yeah, we've got an interesting division. What seems to be a 3-headed race this year. A lot of these divisions in baseball right now are 2-headed. We're seeing that when it comes to the NL West with the Dodgers and really that's actually a one-headed race over there. Same with possibly the NL, same with possibly the NL East, but
and the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, but in the AL East, like we already covered, we've got the Yankees and the Orioles up there. The NL Central is a mess. So maybe I'll walk back that take a little bit. We have a 3-headed race here in the AL West with possibly what could be the 2 worst teams in baseball, 2 of the 5 worst teams in baseball, with the Angels and the Las Vegas / Sacramento / Oakland / I don't know where they're going to play Athletics. Let's get into this. We have the Houston Astros as the favorite. You can get them at a plus number, plus 100 right now. They really didn't make any moves over the offseason. But they re-signed Jose Altuve. They brought in Josh Hader. They lost Hector Neris, which it sounds insane that we're saying this, that Hector Neris was actually a fantastic piece in their bullpen. He was amazing for them. Lost Martin Maldonado, a guy who couldn't hit for them, but it was a fantastic defensive catcher. I think they're going to be really interesting this year. Ethan, out of the 3-headed race here, we'll touch on the Rangers and the Mariners as well. do you have a team that you think will take away this division? We saw a tie last year. The Houston Astros had the tiebreaker over the Rangers, but the Rangers ended up winning the World Series.
Yeah, I was going to say, why aren't we talking about the defending World Series champions, the Texas Rangers? I love the Rangers to win this division. I think the Astros, I mean, I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself, and this has nothing to do with the fact that the Astros beat the Phillies in the World Series, but I think the Astros are starting to decline. Extending Altuve, bad sign. Just saying that for no reason, of course, but I just don't think that's a great sign. And I think the Rangers are really, really, really good. And also, they should have won that division last year, and it all came down to the last series of the regular season. And frankly, I think they just were like, we're going to rest for the playoffs. And they made the right choice because they won the World Series. So, I do think the Rangers are taking care of business in the AL West now.
Let's be honest, too, Ethan. I kind of forgot about this, and I don't know when he comes back. But the Texas Rangers have a guy named Jacob deGrom on their roster.
They sure do. And Max Scherzer, I believe.
Correct. So I like what you're saying. I'll just say I like what you're saying. I think that I think Jordan Montgomery was a fantastic pickup for them in the starting rotation. He is technically is a departure. He is not on the team currently. He went to be a free agent, but he is not signed anywhere yet. So
nope.
he could come back. Texas might start swiping their credit card again. There are still some guys out there that they can use to bolster their roster. Who knows? But I am kind of in agreement with you. I'm actually going to go with the Texas Rangers winning this division as well. Again, something I think a little bit good value on with 2-1 odds on it. A team that showed they can win the World Series. Their lineup is kind of underrated for winning the World Series. Corey Seager has a chance of putting up.
Corey Seager might be the most underrated player in baseball by a country mile.
Yes, I completely agree. I think
he's so good.
He finally showed out in the playoffs. Obviously, he was fantastic the entire playoff run. But they also have Marcus Semien. They unfortunately lost Mitch Garver, a guy who was actually a really nice bat in their lineup. But they have pieces in there that can be division winning. But Ethan, and another team that we haven't touched on yet, Seattle Mariners.
I love it.
They actually picked up Mitch Garver from the Mariners. They also lost a guy named Jared Kelenic, who we talked about in the NL East preview, a guy that we think is going to be fantastic. Ethan and I both think for the Braves, the change of scenery is going to be great for him. But I think personally, the Mariners slip into that third spot still. It hurts me to say that. It's actually, but I don't know. I feel like they're my AL team. Like, and a little bit of it could be because I went to a game this summer. I actually was in Seattle for a few days, which was a lot of fun. I actually went to a game where they took over the NL or the AL West one spot, the top spot in the AL West, which was awesome. It was so cool to see that. But I have one more question for you, Ethan.
Go ahead.
Everyone's been talking about the Athletics, how bad they are.
They're real bad.
Are we gonna have to start talking about the Angels being that bad? Like, who do you think comes in last in this division? Because everyone's worried that the Athletics are not even going to win 60 games this year. But what if the Angels?
These two teams are gross. Like the Athletics and Angels. Like, if Mike Trout wasn't an Angel, like, this team would be relegated into the AAAs. Like, seriously, they're really bad, and I can't imagine as an Angels fan being excited for this season. And then honestly with the Athletics too, it's way more bleaker in Oakland, Sacramento, Vegas area, whatever you are. But no future in Oakland, obviously. No future for the Athletics right now. They need to get it under control because, like, I would love to be funny and pick the Angels to be the worst team in baseball, but it's going to be the Athletics. It's just by how much. And I think the Angels, unfortunately, are that team that they'll either make the wild card or they'll be the worst team by far. So regardless what happens with the Angels this year, my not so hot take is that I think Trout gets traded at the deadline. I would love for him to come to Philadelphia for obvious reasons, but I don't think that's the case. So as a Mike Trout supporter, because he's such a big Eagles fan. I hope he goes somewhere good and can contend, because it's pretty sad seeing him stuck in Anaheim, wherever the hell he is.
Agreed. And you know what, Ethan? I'm actually, funny enough, in full agreement of your take of they could either be the worst team in baseball, which, by the way, you can find at 25-1 right now on DraftKings.
Probably will be.
Something I actually wouldn't hate, but I feel like it's so baseball, where the year they lose Shohei Ohtani, it's like,
They'll go to the World Series.
You made the wild card, and they'll trade Mike Trout. Like, you know what I mean? It's gonna be one of these, like Logan O'Hoppe is gonna be like.
Matt Joyce and Logan O'Hoppe are gonna lead the Angels to the playoffs.
Correct. Joe Adell's gonna actually finally figure out how to pick up a bat. Like,
Aaron Hicks is gonna turn back the clock 6 years. Hell yeah!
Exactly. So I am gonna lean the other way, though. I actually don't think that. I think they have a really good shot at being the worst team in baseball. The Athletics. I think their pitching is going to be atrocious.
It'll be really bad.
My take right now would be that they're going to have the worst ERA in baseball at the end of the year.
Probably.
You'll see me putting half a unit down on them to have the worst record in the MLB.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's probably a really good bet. You said, what was the odds for that?
20-1.
Wow. Yeah, I love Mike Trout. Really hoping he's not bad, but I think that's a very good chance that happens, man. It's really unfortunate how far they've come. I mean, it seemed glaringly obvious that they had to trade Ohtani at the deadline last year, or this exact situation was going to happen, and they didn't care. So, hey, we're not going to fight them on it.
They didn't get anything out of it. Worst decision of all time. I knew it. I knew they weren't going to trade him because it was going to be a terrible look. You traded the best player and
bad franchises do bad
entry,
yep.
And they didn't get anything for it. So Who knows? But that's baseball. So let's get to a different sport that we actually haven't talked about.
Oh yeah, let's talk about something that is the best thing ever, and that is NCAA college football 25. And I'm not talking about the upcoming college football season, Davis. I'm talking about EA Sports college football video game. It is back. It's back. It's really back. And we're not just throwing this freaking graphic up and anything. I saw the college football game in the PlayStation Store last weekend. You can pre-order it already. It's real. It's real. So how do you feel, Davis? It's real.
Ethan, there are some nights where I come home from work, I get my walk in, I get my shift at Lifetime in, I get my podcast in, and it's like, you know what? Let's bring Middle Tennessee State right to the Natty. All right. Like I'm a dynasty guy. I'm a big dynasty guy, but I can't stand Madden. I know you know that. Yeah. There's something about the way that the movement of Madden, the graphics of Madden, the announcers, I hate it. And EA has come out and said many times that they are excited to see the fact that people are wrong about how this game is not a copy of Madden coming out. I don't know. I'm curious to see what it's going to look like. But they've already announced that there's going to be NIL in the game. They've already announced conference realignment, all this kind of stuff that on NCAA 14 on my Xbox 360, which takes probably a full 6 minutes to boot up on my Xbox 360. That's 12 years old.
I can't imagine.
Like the only thing I do is when I start a dynasty, I'm like, oh, Maryland's still in the ACC. Oh, look at that. Rutgers, you need to get over to the Big Ten. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
So we're going to have an updated copy. It's going to be great. There's going to be real game sound in the game. There's going to be college game day. Ethan, don't get me started. All right. Don't get me started.
I'm so excited. I saw a video of Chris Fowler talking about how he's been spending the last 2 years recording lines for this. And he said that, like, if you wanted to attempt a 71-yard field goal, we got that. Like a fake punt pass, like we got that too. Like they have been preparing for this game for a while. So that makes me excited. But in terms of like how the game plays, like I'm not believing anything EA Sports says ever until the game comes out. They are still a developer that has monkeys banging on cymbals, making their games. That's what happens. So, we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I'm excited to say the least.
Tell me this, Ethan, right now. What team will you be bringing to the national championship for your first dynasty?
Obviously, the University of Akron.
Okay. All right. I mean, I understand.
Yeah,
I'll
I was
tell you
thinking
mine.
about Toledo, but I'm not sure yet. I want to take a MAC team to a championship, I think.
Yeah, what's wrong with you taking all these Ohio schools?
Maction, baby. Maction Supreme.
Give me Kennesaw State.
Give me Western Michigan.
Give me New Mexico. Team on
Give
the
me
bubble.
Northern Iowa.
Ethan,
We'll
speaking
have a
of
Bachi
college
Boys
football,
contest to see who can win the national championship with the most obscure college.
I like that. Well, wait, did someone just say Doug's? Is Doug's coming? No.
That's not copyrighted. Shout out, Big
Let's not
Cat.
get started. Let's not get started.
Yeah.
But speaking of college football, before we wrap it up, just want to talk for 2 minutes about this. Way too early Heisman Award winner odds on here. We're going to see a very
whoa. TJ Ugalele, whatever the frick his last name is that Florida State?
Yep. Yes, he is.
Why?
Because he is 30 years old and still has eligibility to play. That's what it feels like.
Follow-up question: is Jordan Travis going to be playing next year after he's healthy?
I don't know. Was he not going?
What are we doing here?
Was he not going to the NFL draft? I'm pretty sure
he was.
I think he
was, and no, he backed out. He's at Miami now. I don't know. Anyway, let's get back to these Heisman rankings.
Yeah. All right.
This transfer stuff is bullshit. I'm out.
I'm out. It's free agency at this point. But Ethan, there's a few names on here. A lot of new names on here, but some old ones. We got Quinn Ewers over at Texas. Dylan Gabriel moved from Oklahoma to Oregon. Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, the guy who beat Penn State in the Sugar Bowl. Wait,
what the hell, man?
Anyway, Ethan, quickly wanted to run down who you like on this list, because I see a guy right down there at the bottom. Drew.
I see one too. Drew Allar. Penn State, 45-1. I love it. No, in all seriousness, I would love for Drew Allar to win a Heisman, but doesn't feel like his year. I'm going to go with Quinn Ewers. I really, really like the Longhorns next year. And it's not just because they were in the playoff last year. I think this team is back. I think Texas is fully back.
How many years do you think they've been saying they're back?
Well, I don't know if they're going to be fully back because they're going to the SEC next year, and that's going to be eye-opening to say the least. But I really like Quinn Ewers. He has shown a lot of promise in situations, but I think that Texas is just on the brink of putting it all together, and I think that includes Quinn. And honestly, I think him winning the award would speak more to the weakness of the field and not to how well Ewers would play next year. No disrespect to Ewers.
Yeah, usually in these Heisman, you usually see a favorite. Like Caleb Williams was, if I recall, about plus 350 last year to open the year, maybe closer to 5-1. I mean, we're seeing the favorites here at 9-1. Ethan, give me Jalen Milroe right there at 14-1.
I don't hate
Alabama.
that. Yeah.
My only concern is the loss of Saban. I think you need to take a guy on a team that will obviously make the playoff with this new 12-team format. But you need to take a guy who's probably going to be is on a top 5, top 6 school in the country. I think you need to take a guy who has a lot of hype. Jalen Milroe is a guy who can definitely throw for 30 touchdowns and run for 20 more. We saw him do that last year. He had his struggles early in the year. He actually got benched early in the year. I believe it was against University of South Florida. I believe he actually got benched after halftime of that game. He came back, finished the year strong, beat Georgia in the SEC title game, and barely lost to Michigan in overtime in the Final Four, what I'm going to call it.
Great game.
Give me Jalen Milroe at 14-1. But another name before we wrap it up that I just want to bring up, Shedeur Sanders.
Okay. Really?
Shedeur Sanders at 45-1. I'm not saying I like
it. But do you see Shedeur Sanders standing on that stage hoisting the Heisman Trophy next year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Yep.
Do you know why?
Because the Heisman committee won't give it to him.
I don't think Colorado wins 7 games next year.
Woo!
Bookmark
that.
I absolutely do not think they will. They're not a good team. They were not a good team last year. They got hyped up with Deion. This is going to be Deion's last season coaching at Colorado. I'm calling it right here.
Whoa.
Absolutely will be. He's going to leave after Shador's gone. This Colorado team is terrible, and you're not going to see, even though Shador is lined up to be the number 1 overall pick this coming year, he is.
No,
Look at mock draft. It's early.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, he's not. Shador Sanders is not going 1 in the draft next year.
That's what I've seen. Walter Football has Shador Sanders going to the Tennessee Titans.
Drew Alar is a 10 times better quarterback prospect than Shador Sanders.
I was looking at some mock drafts too. I saw Drew Alar going, 16 next year. So he's outside of the lottery.
That's BS. Shador Sanders should not be going number 1. I love Shador. He's good, but he's not NFL good.
And again, that's one mock draft.
All right, my dark horse is Brady Cook of Missouri. I think Missouri was very, very good last year. Surprisingly good. I thought Brady Cook played his ass off in certain games. They had a game against Georgia down the stretch that they did not win, but they kept it close. And I thought Brady Cook looked very good first full year starting. And I just think Missouri in this new SEC could surprise some people.
Missouri is exactly the team that I would have loved to see in the 12-team playoff if the 12-team playoff were last year.
Yeah,
they were a team that they were hanging around with everybody.
Yep.
They lost a tough game to Georgia, and I believe their only other loss was a tough game to Tennessee. But two great losses, and that's exactly what the 12-team playoffs going towards. And perfect then the 14-team playoff that's coming very shortly, but we'll talk about that another time.
We need to get through 1 year. I'm just glad that we're getting more than a 14 playoff so that we don't have to argue about whether or not a terrible team like Florida State should get in the playoff when everyone knows they shouldn't get in the playoff.
Just go to 64. Why not?
That would
make it March Madness.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
These football teams can play back.
What was the 64th ranked football team in college football last year?
Like Florida. Off the top of my head, I'm going to go with the University of Iowa.
Yeah, probably. That's probably exactly it.
You want to hear something scary? Iowa's definitely would have been like a 30th seed, or like they would have been like 30th in the country. And what happened to them? They couldn't score. The
offensive coordinator got a freaking points minimum put on him for the entire season, and he didn't even make it through the whole season. That's how bad their offense is.
Yep. Couldn't score a point in their bowl game. Happens.
Hawkeye.
Bowl game. I don't know. Whatever. Happy Monday, Ethan. Or happy Tuesday.
Whenever this is coming out. But it's March. It is March, Davis. We are almost at the tournament. I'm getting antsy. I don't know about you. I'm getting antsy.
You know it.
Yeah. The last full week of college basketball regular season is here. We got the conference tournaments next week. We will be here to cover everything for you. We will have an episode before the conference tournaments officially get underway, and we will cover everything. But make sure you stay tuned here. Make sure you stay tuned on our Instagram, TikTok, YouTube that you're watching right now, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Share with a friend, tell a friend. Help us out, the Bachi Boys. Really appreciate all your support. Make sure to check out our shorts on YouTube as well. Go ahead.
Apply online.
Yeah,
Indeed internships are being posted shortly.
DM us at BachiBoys_, and we can hire you to be our new graphics designer. Because we have about 4 right now. We're looking for new positions. I got our lead producer telling us we got to wrap it up in a second. So maybe we need a new lead producer as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, he's terrible. All right, Davis, thank you very much. Bachi Boys are out. Peace.